I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get blindsided like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I was with my wife, Jessica, for about 6 years. We seemed solid, or at least that's what I thought. She was the typical high-maintenance type, bossy, quick to call me out, always bitching if I didn't do things her way. Still, I loved her, or I thought I did. We had a pretty normal life, nothing extraordinary, but it was ours. She worked as a manager at some boutique, and I was an engineer, worked long hours, but I made decent money, and we managed to keep the bills paid and the bills paid on time. From the start, Jessica always had a sharp tongue. She'd mock me for my hobbies, say I was boring, and sometimes she'd go out with her friends and come back late, acting like nothing was wrong. I didn't pay much attention because I trusted her, or at least I wanted to. Little signs started to pop up that I ignored, her phone constantly on silent, secretive texts, and her brushing me off when I asked if she was seeing anyone new. I told myself. It was all in my head. Women cheat, sure, but Jessica seemed committed, or so I thought. Then came the signs that made me start questioning everything. She was colder than usual, snapping at me for no reason, avoiding intimacy. Our sex life had become almost non-existent. She'd come up with excuses about stress, work, or being too tired. I figured maybe she was just busy, or maybe she was losing interest. But I couldn't shake this strange feeling, like something was hiding behind her eyes. Then there was the night she stayed out late, claiming she was at some girl's night out, but I saw her car parked a few blocks away from a bar downtown, and I didn't hear from her until morning. You might think I was paranoid, but I started to check her phone, her social media, even her emails, things I'd never done before. Nothing concrete, but little inconsistencies. She'd delete messages, hide her screen when I came near, and I could swear she was lying about where she was going or who she was with. Still, I held on to that hope she was just stressed, just busy. Maybe I was overreacting. I didn't want to believe the worst, especially not about someone I'd trusted this long. Then one day, things changed completely. I work overtime a lot, so I was out late one night, working on a project that I thought was pretty important. Jessica was supposed to be at her sister's house for the weekend, or so I thought. But when I came home around midnight, I noticed a new security camera on the neighbor's porch, something I'd never seen before. I didn't pay much attention at first. I was exhausted. But the next day I was scrolling through the neighbor's security footage just out of curiosity, and I saw something that hit me like a punch to the gut. Jessica, she was there. She was with someone else. And that someone else was none other than our landlord, Steve. The footage was clear. She was going into his house, kissing him, and then coming back out, acting completely normal, like nothing had happened. I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I trusted, was cheating on me with our landlord, someone I'd never liked, honestly. Seeing her kiss him on that camera, knowing she was lying about where she was, about who she was with, made my stomach turn. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. All the doubts, the signs, everything suddenly made sense. The coldness, her secretive behavior, her late nights, it was all because she was screwing around. That moment, staring at that footage, shattered whatever illusion I had left about our marriage. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew my life was about to change forever. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept replaying what I saw on the footage: Jessica in her coat, walking out of Steve's house, her lips just a little too pressed together like she was hiding something. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that look she always gave me when she was annoyed, the way she dismissed my concerns as if I was just being paranoid. But I was. Not anymore. By morning, I had made up my mind. I needed to confront her. There was no way I could go on like this, pretending everything was fine. I waited until she came home from what she claimed was her sister's house, but I knew better. I was sitting at the kitchen table when she walked in, looking just as bitchy and dismissive as always, her heels clicking on the tile. I could tell she was trying to act normal, but her eyes darted around, avoiding mine. "Hey," she said, her voice sharp. "What's going on?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "We need to talk," I said, voice low but firm. "I saw the footage, Jessica. I saw you with Steve. Don't lie to me. I know what's been going on." Her face froze. She blinked slowly, like she was trying to process what I said, then scoffed. Oh, come on, are you serious? That's some kind of joke, right? You're just being paranoid as usual. No, Jessica, I said, feeling a mix of anger and heartbreak. I'm not paranoid, I've seen enough. You lied to me, lied about where you were, who you were with, everything. And it's not just some innocent thing, you're cheating on me with him, you're having sex with him. She rolled her eyes, crossed her arms, and scoffed again. Really? You're gonna accuse me of that? You're so damn insecure. It's probably some misunderstanding. Maybe you're just imagining things. You always jump to conclusions when I go out with my friends or whatever. Stop lying, I snapped. I saw the footage. I know what's been going on behind my back. How long has this been going on? Did you even think about how I would feel, or were you just too busy screwing around? She looked at me with this contemptuous sneer. You don't understand a thing, Mike. You're so boring, so predictable. I needed something more exciting. Steve's just better in bed. You're so clueless about sex sometimes, I thought you'd never keep up. It's not like I loved him anyway, it's just sex. It doesn't mean anything. That was the moment I realized how deep she was into her lies. She was spinning more bullshit, trying to gaslight me into doubting myself, but I wasn't falling for it. My stomach was twisting in knots and I felt my fists clenching. How could she be so callous, so utterly heartless? All those nights I stayed late at work, all the times I asked if she was okay, and she was with him, betraying everything we had. The worst part, I could see the anger building inside me, but also this crushing sadness. I had wanted to believe in us and the vows we took. Now I saw her for what she really was, a liar, a cheat, and someone who never really cared about me the way I cared about her. It was a gut punch. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and just exhausted already. I knew this was only the beginning. I had to decide what to do next, but right now, I just wanted to get her out of my sight, to stop hearing her bullshit excuses. After that confrontation, everything felt like a blur. I couldn't focus at work. I kept seeing her face, her smirk, that look she gave when she thought she was getting away with something. I was angry, yes, but mostly hurt. The kind of hurt that makes your chest feel heavy, like someone had shoved a lead weight into it. I wasn't just pissed off at her. I was furious with myself for not seeing the signs sooner, for trusting her when I should have known better. I spent the next couple of days in this strange fog, until I decided I needed proof, real proof, before I made any decisions. My neighbor's security camera footage had been my first clue, but I wanted more. I needed to know just how deep this went. So I set up my own surveillance, tracking Jessica's phone, her habits, where she was going. I didn't want to be a stalker, but I figured if I was going to do this, I needed to be thorough. I wanted to catch her in the act if she was sneaking around again, and I wanted to gather enough evidence so that I could finally decide what to do. It didn't take long. Within a day, I had the confirmation I needed. Jessica was sneaking out late at night, meeting Steve, and I found texts on her phone, flirtatious, suggestive, even downright dirty. I could see the messages she'd sent, how she described their secret meetings, how she told him she was so tired of pretending, and how she missed what they had. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just a one-time thing. They were in it for real, and she wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. Now I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. I knew I had to confront her. Again, but this time with undeniable proof. I sat her down one evening after I'd gathered everything, and I told her I knew everything. I laid out all the evidence, texts, dates, the footage, everything. Her face went pale for a second, and then she started lying again, insisting it was just sex and nothing serious. She claimed Steve was just a bad choice, that she was bored, that I was too controlling, and she needed some excitement. She even tried to turn it around, saying I was the one who was distant, who didn't pay attention anymore. That made me want to scream. How could she be so selfish, so utterly dismissive of what this was doing to me? I felt like I was losing my mind. I never thought I'd be one of those guys who gets played like a fool, but here I was. Betrayed by the woman I loved, betrayed by someone I had trusted. Every ounce of my self-esteem was crumbling, and I felt this deep sense of despair. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was crushed. I hadn't slept properly since I saw the footage, and now I was faced with her blatant lies and denial. I wanted to tear her apart, to make her see how much she hurt me, but at the same time I wondered if I should just walk away. I didn't want to be weak, but I felt like I was standing on the edge of something dark. I knew I had a choice. I could either fight for her, try to save the marriage, or I could cut my losses and get out before I got even more hurt. Honestly, I didn't know what was right anymore. All I knew was that I'd lost a part of myself, and I was trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces. The hardest part was realizing how much I'd trusted her, how I'd convinced myself that she was the one, that we had something real. Now, that illusion was shattered, and I was left trying to breathe through the pain. The next few days were like living in a nightmare. I couldn't concentrate on anything, my mind constantly circling the images I'd seen and the truths I'd uncovered. I'd always thought I was a rational guy, someone who could handle tough situations, but this was different. It felt like my heart had been ripped in half, and I was just walking around in shock, trying to figure out how to put everything back together, or if I even should. Jessica, of course, kept up her act. She was bitchy, dismissive, and kept lying about everything. She insisted that she didn't mean anything, that it was just sex, and that Steve was just a rebound, whatever that meant. She kept crying, pretending to be the victim, claiming I was overreacting, saying I was suspicious because I didn't trust her. She spun stories about how she was stressed, how she needed a break, how I was so controlling and insecure. It was the same old bullshit, but this time I saw through it. Every excuse, every tear just made me angrier. The worst part was the betrayal, the fact that she was so willing to lie and manipulate just to cover her ass. I'd been married to her for 6 years, and I thought we had something real. But she'd been sneaking around behind my back, screwing the landlord and lying like it was nothing. That realization made me question everything. Our memories, our vows, the years we spent building something. Was it all just a lie? Was I just fooling myself into thinking I was enough? In the midst of all this chaos, I started to think about what I wanted. Part of me wanted to rip her apart, to scream at her, to make her feel how much she hurt me. But another part of me, the calmer part, knew that wasn't going to fix anything. I needed a plan, a real decision. I knew I couldn't stay with her like this, not after what I'd seen and what she'd admitted to. But I also knew I didn't want to be just another guy dumped for a bigger dick or a prettier face. I wanted respect, and I wanted to know if I could salvage what little dignity I had left. That's when I decided I had to do something drastic. I wasn't going to let her walk all over me anymore. I decided to gather even more evidence, proof that I could use if necessary. I installed a hidden camera in the living room, just to see if she'd try to lie her way out of it again. I also started documenting her sneaky behaviors. Her phone calls, her late-night departures, everything I could. I didn't want to be impulsive, but I also didn't want to be blindsided again. I needed to be prepared for whatever came next. And then, out of nowhere, something even more shocking happened. She found out about the surveillance. I guess she was suspicious, or maybe she'd just been careless. Anyway, she confronted me one evening, furious. She accused me of spying, said I was crazy, that I was ruining everything. I tried to stay calm, but inside I was furious. I told her that I'd had enough of her lies, that I was done playing her game. I told her I knew what she was doing and that I wouldn't tolerate it anymore. Her face twisted with rage, and she spat that I was just a jealous idiot, that she never loved me and was just pretending all these years. That was the moment I realized how deep her lies went. She didn't even try to deny it anymore. She was just angry that I found out, that I was finally confronting her. I knew then I had to decide whether I was going to keep going down this path or finally cut ties and walk away. I was tired, emotionally drained, but I also knew I deserved better. I deserved someone who wouldn't cheat on me, who wouldn't lie and manipulate. The pain was still fresh, but somewhere deep inside, I found a flicker of resolve. I was done being a victim. It was time to take control of my life. The aftermath of that confrontation was even worse than I expected. Jessica, in her typical bitchy attitude, doubled down on her lies, claiming I was crazy, that I was just jealous and insecure because she was so much hotter than me. She spat her usual excuses. She was bored, tired of my controlling ways, and honestly, I think she enjoyed the power she had over me now. The fact that she was so dismissive, so contemptuous, made me feel even more humiliated. I couldn't believe I had been so blind for so long, letting her walk all over me like that. but I wasn't going to let her keep twisting everything to her advantage. I made up my mind then and there. I was done. Done with her games, her lies, her bullshit. I told her. I wanted her out of the house, that I was filing for divorce. Of course, she threw a fit. She's always been good at playing the victim, crying, screaming, saying I was abusive just because I was angry. She insisted she was the one being mistreated and that I was the real problem. Her words didn't mean much, though. I knew her better than she thought. That night, I started packing her things. It was hard, really hard, to see her stuff go, to realize I was losing someone I'd loved for so many years. But I knew I had to stand my ground. I wanted her gone, out of my life, and I didn't want to look back. I called a lawyer the next day and began the divorce process. I needed to reclaim my self-respect, my sanity. I couldn't keep living in this shadow of betrayal. Meanwhile, Jessica tried to guilt-trip me, saying I was overreacting, calling me pathetic, and even accusing me of not loving her enough. But I had no more tears left. I felt numb, like I'd been hollowed out from the inside. At that point, I realized I'd been wasting my time hoping she would change, hoping she'd come back to me and admit she screwed up. But she never did. Instead, she just kept insisting she was the victim, that I was the one who was crazy. The more she begged, the more I saw her true colors: selfish, manipulative, and completely indifferent to how much pain she'd caused. The final blow was when I found out she was already seeing someone new, another guy probably, while still married to me. That's when I knew I'd hit rock bottom. I felt like a fool for giving her 6 years of my life, for trusting her, for thinking we had something real. It was a hard lesson, but one I had to learn the hard way. Sometimes people just aren't worth your time or your tears. Jessica's betrayal taught me to be more cautious, more guarded. I promised myself I'd never let anyone treat me that way again. In the end, I moved out, started over, and took a long, hard look at my life. I realized I'd let her control too much, my feelings, my trust, my happiness. Now I'm rebuilding myself piece by piece. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't be staying in a relationship built on lies and betrayal. It's painful, yeah, but it's also a kind of liberation. I've learned that sometimes the biggest act of self-respect is walking away from someone who doesn't value you. That's what I'm doing now. Moving on, learning to trust myself again. And honestly, I'll be better for it. It's been a few months since I left her, and honestly, I'm still trying to piece myself back together. The house feels empty without her bitchy remarks and her constant nagging. But at the same time, it's quieter, calmer, less chaos. I've started therapy, just to sort through all the emotions I've been bottling up. Talking about everything has helped me see that this isn't just about her cheating. It's about me learning my worth, realizing I shouldn't settle for someone who manipulates and lies just to satisfy her own selfish needs. Looking back, I see how I let her control me for too long, how I ignored the red flags because I wanted to believe in the best of her. But now I understand that trust isn't just given, it's earned, and she lost it when she decided to cheat and lie. I don't regret the past because it's made me stronger, more aware. Still, it's hard not to feel the sting of betrayal, not to wonder how I missed all those signs, how I could have been so blind. The hardest thing has been dealing with the anger at her, at myself, at the whole situation. But I've learned to channel that into something positive. I've started focusing on my career again, reconnecting with friends, and rediscovering hobbies I'd put aside, things I enjoyed before I got caught up in her world. I've even started dating again cautiously because I realize I deserve someone who genuinely cares, someone who won't lie and cheat behind my back. This experience has changed me. I know I'll never be naive again, and I'm more cautious about who I trust. But I also know I'm resilient. I survived this storm, and I'll come out the other side better. I've learned that no matter how much someone hurts you, you can pick yourself up, rebuild, and move forward. That's what I'm doing now, with a little more caution, a little more respect for myself, and a whole lot of hope for what's next. So, to anyone out there going through something similar, know that betrayal hurts, but it doesn't define you. You have the power to walk away, to start fresh, and to find happiness again. Trust is fragile, but it can be rebuilt, with yourself first. Never forget your worth. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is simply living your best life without the ones who don't deserve a place in it.